immigrants coming into the country, establish their status. They need to collaborate. We don't have a central database that all the agencies can have access to. It's very important that we have a central database. People coming into Nigeria are recorded by immigration. The customs takes care of some of these issues of items coming to Nigeria illegally. So we need a lot of collaboration, and it has been proved, just like this incident now, that the security agencies are working together, unlike previously, where everybody is working on his own, trying to take credit. You can see the jointness in their operations and the success they are recording so far. We are evolving, and we'll get there.
Okay, you said something about screening those that are coming into the country. At what point do they do this screening? We talked earlier about the amount of borders we have that are porous and are not properly manned. Is it at the borders that they will do this screening, or is it just the airports?
We will have travel control points. And those are the areas where our immigrants, legal migrants, should be screened. But we should also go beyond that through our illegal routes to see people who are coming into the country illegal and establish their mission.
As we speak, should we be speaking with the Lebanese community? Because now as Lebanese, the other time an Iranian, should we be having a talk with the Lebanese communities as well as the Iranian community to actually look and find out if truly they understand this particular individual who is on the run?
Well, the Lebanese communities, I think in Kano, have situated themselves and said they have nothing to do with these suspects. But you too, as media practitioners, you have access to Lebanese community or the ambassador or the high commissioner to get their reaction on this matter. It's important you do that too.
No, before we were accused of jeopardizing the investigation, why? Maybe we'll just stand back a little bit and let the security agencies do their due diligence first, perhaps before the media eventually goes in. But that's on the lighter side. But in terms of funding, because time and again we hear them talk about the need to trace the funding. Trace the funding, cut the funding, you solve some of these problems, if not a lot of it, they tell us. Have we done enough from your perspective in terms of tracing the actual funding for all of these developments, the terrorist groups and some of what's going on now?
You know, terrorism is very capital intensive in terms of funding. And you can see that the illegal operators, like the espionage network, they have a lot of money to play with. The suspect we are discussing now is one of the biggest supermarkets. And the other park, Wonderland. So they have a lot of money to spend. And I think the security agencies are also looking into the details of how these funds are transferred. So we should go beyond all these areas we are looking at. I think they are working on that.
But with respect to the central database, of course, you know how different agencies go about gathering data. So much has been invested and spent with a view to getting data. Do you think we're really going to eventually sort this challenge out, having a central database that the security agencies can access, and a protected one, such that Nigerians will be free to give their information to that database?
You see, if we can be achieving this success without a central database, you can imagine what happens if we have a central database. It's important that we have this central database. And I'm happy to note that the present government has paid so much attention to security. But it will never be enough. I think they will continue to ask for more to ensure that our society is safe.
I think that's a big one, because we just, at this point, we'll also remember those who were actually caught in the line of duty, especially in Nasarawa and some other places in the country. And now we should also talk about welfare when we talk about funding, because this can actually also spur so many of these officers into action for the nation. You think welfare is so on point for them, or we need to do more as a country?
Well, a lot of people have raised this issue, and you know that because of the jointness, like I said before, the SSS alone was not involved in this casualty. The police alone was not. The two services were involved in the casualty, and in management, every organization has its own policy in handling the welfare of its people. But I think it's very good that we should have a basic or a minimum for all the agencies people who die in line of action. So you can see the different people treating their services or their officers differently. It depends again on resources and leadership. So it doesn't really follow that the faults must be there.
Well, you're a lawyer. Quickly, let me put this one in. The judgment, the sentence rather, handed down to the Iranian. What do you make of that? We can actually comment on that now, knowing full well that Hezbollah has a link with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, and the same man has been, well, said to be a member of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. So, is there a connection? Do you think that particular sentence was okay for us in the fight against terrorism?
There's a connection, because I said some Iranians were arrested in February by the State Security Service, and they followed up, which led to this Hezbollah connection. So there's no way you leave the two out, and that's the question you asked earlier. If I know of other terrorists, I think the one that has come to public knowledge is Hezbollah and Iranian terrorist groups. So there's a connection established because of this investigation that is being carried out. But I'm also saying that these are not the only two groups. Even though I don't know them, I can't categorically mention their names. The agencies will be there because they are investigating. They are in a better position to say how many cells they have been able to discover.
Okay. Well, again, I remember there was a time we were told when some shipments arrived the country, they said at the time, don't worry, just hold on, we'll investigate and get back to the country on this one. 2 years down the line, I'm not sure there was any briefing about some of these things, and that's why if you leave a vacuum, you know, they'll fill it. But from the way some of these investigations are going on, do you think that at the end of the day, we will actually be seen by the international community now, not just Nigerians here, as taking very serious and decisive steps, such that will send a message to anyone who tries to use the country or for any ulterior motive that they should just back off? Do you think we'll come to that stage?
Of course, we'll get there. The international community is now very conscious that Nigerian security agencies are on top of their game. I can recall the one you're talking about 2 years ago, but I know that some Iranians who were arrested in 2010 with a Nigerian were convicted only recently, about last month. So, with all these successes, any terrorist group that is coming to Nigeria should be conscious that our agencies are really on top of their game.
All right, we'll have to let it go there. Thank you very much indeed, Mike Ejiofor, former director of